end. See, for example, when I'm accruing the expense, this question basically is, while creating an invoice, you will enter a debit as expense account, right? That expense accrual, when it should happen, at the receipt level itself or at the period end. Receipt here means what the receipt means in real time scenario. Let's take an example. You're ordering something to your supplier. You're putting a purchase order. After purchase order is went to the supplier, what supplier will do? Supplier will send the goods to your warehouse, right? When the goods received to uh, your warehouse keeper will receive the goods. While receiving the goods, he will get a slip from your supplier, a vendor, a truck driver, right? That is called as receipt. Why we have to accrue the expense at the receipt level? Concept is, whenever you have received your product, it is very expense. You have to pay them back, right? So it's always better to accrue at the receipt level. So whenever we keep at the receipt, your accounting will happen at the receipt level. Otherwise, what will happen when you keep at the period end? There will be no accounting done at each and every receipt level. Whenever you are closing the period, all the receipt accounting will run at the period end level only. So it is not recommended. In general, everyone will uh, accrue their expense at receipt level itself. Next, self-billed invoice. This is for iSupplier. Like iSupplier means each and every supplier in your Oracle system will have their own login. Okay, they can log in into their system. They can create their invoice. This is your invoice. You have to pay for me. They can create on their own instead of sending an invoice in your email to your accountant. They will automatically create from login from the system and they will pay. So in self-billed invoice, you should have gapless invoice numbering, or it should be gap like this option it is. Then buying company identifier, it is required or not. For example, if you enable gapless invoice with self-billed invoice, you can put your buying company identifier, like it's a suffix. Like if you are put US1 BU, so what will happen? The automatic number will be used as a part of invoice number while creating invoice or pay and receipt process. What it says is, for example, your number is generating, right? Well, if it doesn't give this one, your number may generate like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. If you give buying company identifier means, what will happen? Each and every invoice will have a prefix of US1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This numbering will be changed. It's just a preference, your company identifier. Okay. You're not going to enable this because will not use our company software. Then legal entity information. For this BU, I will capture my VAT registration member state. What is my VAT registration member state? In general, if it is in India, means you will select my VAT member state. I will select as Telangana or Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu as my VAT registration member state. So my VAT registration number, I can provide it here. This is generally used for VAT. It's not used for GST. If you are doing any VAT things, you can use this. Okay. And bill to location. What is bill to location? As I said, no one. Whenever they deliver the goods, they will send a copy of invoice to your location, right? This setup is basically asking, if I do any transaction in this business unit, to which location supplier has to send the invoice. Here they have mentioned, right? Just send it to my headquarters location. No problem. That's it about the screen base. Any doubts in this? Ajit, Dhanraj, Nitish, any doubt in this?
No, Jagdish, I'm just digesting. So I will look at the video again, and if I have something, I will let you know.
No problem. Okay. So in general, these are the options we can provide here. See, always when it comes to, whenever you see any of the modules, see, like yesterday you saw intercompany module, in general ledger module, specific ledger option, intercompany modules or system option. Here we are seeing common options. wherever see in each and every model setup options, this play a vital role, and this will just default your accounts. Okay, for like this has to work or not, what is my default account, all those things will be provided in this common options. Like I will give one troubleshooting scenario over here. What happens, for example, what happens if I am keeping, I have not provided a conversion default conversion rate today. Whenever you are creating an invoice, this will not get defaulted in invoice. You have to go and select your conversion rate every time. Instead of that, we can give here, so all your invoices get defaulted. This absolute options in your options or system options in every setup, it is just for defaulting, and how your business unit processing should work will tell you in this. Okay, this is about common option for payables and procurement. This is done, and then next two option. Next two are also an interesting option. One is invoice option. Another one is payment option. What is invoice option? What is payment option means? First, from the I will just recap small thing. First, what we did was we created a user and we defined the user as our procurement agent. And then what we did, we have given our common option for our payables and both procurements. Then now we are going to invoice options. Invoice option is nothing but how my invoice option should work. By creating an invoice, what all options can I have? This is our invoice option screen. Basically, all the as usual, you can see checkboxes. This as I should enable this or not. What should my currency invoice currency should default to for the business unit? And these things, all default things, you can change anytime. Okay, these are all checkboxes again. So same wherever you see option, these are the options. Let me start explaining each and every option. Okay, first option is require invoice grouping. What does mean by invoice grouping? Okay, yes. What does mean by invoice grouping? Invoice grouping is nothing but, say, for you may have thousands of invoice, but you have to identify this invoice in your own way. Say, for example, I want to group this invoice. I want to group this invoice. This kind of invoice, I want to group it separately. Like in invoices, AP invoices, there are different type of invoices. One is standard, credit memo, debit memo. I will explain this while we are going to this. We are in setup. While we are going to transaction, I will explain standard, credit memo, and debit memo. Okay, the standard means it's a standard invoice. Credit memo and debit memo will reduce your balance from the standard invoice. It means it will be negative. In this scenario, you have thousands of invoice. Okay, standard invoice you have 800, year 100, year 100. You want to group this invoice separately. Like this is AP STD invoice. This is AP CM invoice. And this is AP DM invoice. So I want to group this invoice. How can I group this invoices? Very simple. While creating, let me show one sample screen so you can identify. This is a basic navigation for creating our invoice. To show you why I'm navigating to here is what happens if I enable this, what happens if I doesn't enable this. I just want to show you. Okay, so you can see here, right? This is called as an invoice header. In general, invoice header is nothing but see whenever you go. Let me put on invoice. See, whenever you are seeing your invoice in a bill you received in a real time also. See, this is your invoice, right? This is called as your header, and this is called as your lines. So in general, any invoice, if you see the header information, they will give as company name, where you are purchasing from, which date, what is the invoice number, all those things they will give here. And here in line level, what items you are purchasing, right? This is here. So at invoice header, this is a line level. Once you fill this invoice header, you can go to lines. Okay. While filling the invoice header, as usual, which business unit you are doing a transaction, to which supplier you are doing, to which supplier site is, what is the invoice number, what is your amount, what type of invoice is yours, date, payment terms, this all the general required option. See, some more options are there like invoice group. Invoice group is not a mandatory option. Why? Because it is not mandatory. Let's take an example, enabling require invoice grouping here. What happens means, if I enable request in invoice grouping here, this invoice group field will become mandatory. When it become mandatory for you, it is mandatory to type some invoice group here. In this scenario, if you want to group like this, whenever you are creating a standard invoice, your accountant is mandatory to put the group, any group here. If your group is not mandatory for you, in optional case, I will use the group, then you can disable this option. Okay, this is about this manage invoice option. How my invoice should look, what all options I can have in my invoice. Purely this option on regarding to that. Okay. Next, allow document category override. What is mean by document category override? Allow document category override. Okay. What is mean by document category override? While creating in your invoice, you are providing your invoice number, right? So whenever an invoice number is manual, as I told, it cannot be sequential. Why? Because one accountant, there will be a multiple accountants using the main screen and creating invoices. It cannot be sequential. So Oracle has given you an option as called as document category. There is a setup. I will explain you payable document sequence. That setup, whenever we set up the setup, this document category will get defaulted based on your transaction type, whatever it is, it will get defaulted, and automatic your voucher number will generate it. Okay. This option is basically for allow my document category override or not. When I create an invoice, when the get defaults, system should allow me to change here or not. If I not enable this option, you cannot change. Only system generated will come here. If I enable this option, you can change. You can change here and you can select whatever document category you want. Basically, this is the option here. Then allow adjustment to paid invoice. What does this option mean is, see, whenever you're creating your invoice and you're validating your invoice, quoted your invoice, system should not allow to change these informations, right? System will not allow to change some of the informations like supplier you cannot change your amount, because this is already validated and it is accounted and it is paid also. You cannot change anything. But Oracle has given you an option. You can make any adjustment to paid invoices also. If you want to make adjustments, means change anything, edit, modify, whatever you can take. So if you want to do that, you can enable. If you enable this option, you can change anything. So this option is about that. Allow remit to supplier override for third party payment. Remit to supplier override for third party payment is remit to supplier is basically to whom we are making a payment, right? To whom we are making a payment. Allow third party to override remit to supplier. In the sense, it will allow your, for example, third party payment in the sense, like, let me put an example over here. This is your business unit. This is your supplier. Let's take an example. Union is your supplier. But in this case, what they're saying, what is meant by third party payments means, see, the supplier has told like, see, I will supply you the goods. Don't pay it to me. Pay to my another supplier. This is my one of my let's take an example. They have two different business relationship. So don't pay it to my union supplier, pay it to my union, whatever it is, right, supplier. Pay to the supplier because of me. So what happens? You will create an invoice in this. You will make a payment in this, right? In this case, your supplier remito address is differs, right? Allow remito supplier differs, right? So when this differing, the payment will also differ, right? So in this case, can I allow remito supplier override for my third party payment? Yes, if you enable that option, you can change your supplier and you can make a payment to the third party payments, and then recalculate the invoice installments. What see, for example, whenever I'm putting here 1,000, okay, there is an option called manage installments. What does manage installment means is, supply system defaulted, random. Okay. Okay, so what I'm saying here is my amount is 1,000. In invoice action, there is an option called manage installment. You know, right? Basically, installment means in how many terms I have to pay. You have in first, you have to in this date you have to pay this amount. In this date you have to pay this amount. These are the installment options, right? In general, what it is saying, I have given 1,000 now and saved it. During the installment, it is here we are saying only one installment. This is my due date. I will pay all of my amount. This is still remaining amount. This is my general payment method. This is my supplier bank account where I have to pay all this information will come here. What this option says is recalculate. See, when I save this, everything is done. I decided, no, this is not my invoice number. I've not validated, I've not accorded it. Nothing I've done. I just saved my invoice. This is my invoice amount. What it should happen. If you give recalculate option means automatically you can see the amount changes here. If it doesn't enable that option, you have to go into managing installment and change your 1,000 to 500. This is this option. Okay. Generally, we will enable this. Why? Because if you change, installment amount also should automatically change. Okay. Then and okay, this is one scenario, and one more scenario is also like based on the payment term, the installment will change. For example, in this payment term says pay me immediately, right? Immediate everything. And another payment term will say, what does this mean means, or 10 days make me 50% of the payment. Another 10 after 10 days make me next 50% of the payment. Basically, what this means, it means two different installments, right? First installment, your invoice date is 18. So your first installment will be 28, 10 days, right? After 10 days, you have to pay. Second installment will be June 8, next 250. So the two different installment will automatically default here based on your payment term. Okay. So whenever I change the pay, so okay, I decided no, I'll pay it immediately. I change the payment term. What system will do automatically? It will recalculate your installment also, and it will change the two installment, change the due date, and put your today's date and put your amount also. Okay, this is basically invoice recalculate invoice installment. Hold unmatched invoice. What is meant by hold unmatched invoice? See, in general, real-time business, that no one will create manual invoices. What is meant by manual invoices? See, what I'm doing is, it is called as manual invoice. I'm creating the invoice manually, correct? In general, how the invoice should flow is, the invoice should flow from your purchase order. Okay. Without matching the purchase order, you cannot create your invoice. Why? Because you have ordered your suppliers, right? You ordered your supplier 500 rupees, some item you have purchased from your supplier. Okay. So you have to match the supplier and say this purchase order which I have created against this supplier has been closed. When purchase order status will be closed, whenever you have invoiced it, you are received the good. You are saying I have received the goods. I'm also invoiced them, and I'm going to pay. Whenever you are invoicing it, the purchase order status will change to closed. Okay. Here, whenever I'm how system knows you are invoicing against this purchase order is you have to select your PO and then you have to create your invoice. This is called as matching process. You are matching your PO with your invoice. This one, what this option means, hold unmatched invoice. If I create an invoice without my purchase order, whenever I'm trying to validate, system should put this invoice in hold, saying this invoice is not matched with any of the purchase order. Okay, system should put on hold or not. This is the option. Then enable invoice account coding flow. Like whenever you are matching the account with the expense account from the purchase order should flow to your what is it? Should flow to your invoice or not? Okay. In general, purchase order account supply chain management will put any account of purchase order account, purchase order distribution, purchase order variance account. In general, what we will do is the expense account we will provide manually here and we will create, or it will flow from purchase order. So matching line option and all is there, so it is not required. Then prevent deletion. You know, right? There is an option called attachment here. You are creating a system invoice and you want to see in each and every scenario, you will receive anything you purchase from your supplier, they will provide you one bill, right? They will provide you an invoice or the physical invoice, whatever they are creating in their system. You'll receive it through physical or through your email. You have an attachment. If you want to keep that record while you're creating an invoice, this invoice, AP invoice, it is not for the purpose we are not going to provide it to anyone. We will keep record for ourselves saying I have made this purchase. This is my invoice number from this supplier. Okay. In this scenario, if I want to choose my PDF which I received or take a photo and load to my system, also you can choose the file. It will browse into your system. You can choose the file and you can click on OK and save it. What this option will do, if you enable this, once you have saved it, it will not allow you to delete. That is this option. And then see, whenever I'm creating invoice, you can see, right, this Australian dollar, I say, yeah, the Australian dollar get defaulted. How it get defaulted? Here, the business unit, this is different business unit, that is different business unit, don't confuse. So let's take an example. Let me select this US one business unit itself. Not allowing me to change. Okay, I filled most of the things right. So when I select the view, this is in invoice currency, this is payment currency. This both will get defaulted based on your setup, whatever you provided. Okay, we have seen invoice group. Now we are going to see pay group. What is meant by pay group? Pay group is nothing but it's the same logic of invoice group. We are capturing invoice group here. We will capture a pay group here in managing installment. Pay group. What is meant by pay group? The same concept. What I told, like 1,000 invoices, 800 standard, and what. These particular invoice I want to pay in a single group. These invoices I have pay in a different group. These invoices I have pay in a different group. Means you can select your pay group. In real-time business scenario, when we will use this pay group means when we are migrating our open invoices from the legacy system to your Oracle Fusion. What we will do is we will migrate our prepayment also, right? Prepayment means we are paying something to our supplier already. We have made some prepaid amount to our supplier already. Okay. In this case, they are still available to match with your invoice. It is not still match. So we will migrate that to your Fusion, and we want to pay with a dummy bank account. Okay. In that case, what we will do while migrating the prepayment, we will attach your pay group. Why? Because against the supplier we can pay, against the supplier it will make your difficulty. There is an option called payment process request. In that you can pay against multiple supplier, multiple business units, multiple payments. Okay, in single shot you can pay many of your invoices. We will show that thing, and we'll explain you how to use the pay group and pay in PPI. But in general, if you want to identify this invoice belongs to this pay group, means we have to capture the pay group in each and every invoice. Okay. If you default a pay group here, every invoice, whatever you are creating, this pay group will get defaulted. That's it. Next, this payment priority. What is this payment priority? Okay. In each and every invoice, this payment priority will get defaulted here. The logic of this payment priority still same, like a pay group. While I'm making payment process request payment, I'm paying thousands of invoices, right? In that invoice, which is my payment priority? For example, these are my invoices. I'm giving this payment priority 1, 2, 10, 58, 92. Let me put it as 99 and 99 itself. Okay. So if I'm given payment priority, I'm capturing in each and every invoice the payment priority option here. I've captured like this. What will happen when I make a payment? When you make your payment, automatically it will see your priority invoice. First you make a payment for that, then to this, then to this, then to this, then finally to this. If in general we will give us 99. Why we are giving us 99 is all my invoices payment priority is same, just pay it at the same. So so for defining this, we will give it as an 99. Okay, this is about payment priority. You can customize and use that, but in general option, this is you can default from it. Payment term. What payment term should default while I'm creating my invoice for this business area? Then term date basis. What is maybe payment term in general? I will put you an example. See, this is my date. This is my term date, right? Date and term date look same. Why? Because what I'm saying is this is my invoice date. My payment term is my supplier said pay me immediately. So I have to pay my term date today. My term date today itself, right? I have to pay this date. When I'm changing this to end of the month, or if we put this 30 days, I have to save this, then this will recalculate. 30 days means what will happen from this date? Next month it will change to 6. After 30 days I have to pay. So this term date will basically calculate from your invoice date. Okay. So this is the option. Here what we will say is term date from which I have to select, from my invoice date or from the invoice received date for system date. So select from the system date or from goods received. In general, we will keep from the invoice date. Please calculate from your invoice date. Then pay date basis. Pay date basis means in which date I have to pay my invoice. I have to pay my invoice on my due date, right? Whenever my invoice is due, I have to pay my invoice. Here is a due date. Whenever my invoice is due, I have to pay my invoice, right? So keeping this as a due date, not the discount date. Accounting date basis. See, when I'm trying to account my invoice, if I go to accounting, you can see accounting date, right? When I try to account my invoice, what should be my accounting date? If I'm keeping same option, system date, goods received, or system date, goods received, or invoice date. If I keep system date, let's take an example. I created invoice 18, and I forgot to do my create accounting, okay, or create accounting program. I forgot to do. I'm doing 2 days later. What system will do? When I keep this option, system will calculate your put your accounting in the date which you are accounting 20th. Okay, it is not generally recommended. You have to account your invoice on your invoice date itself. So it is set to invoice date. Budget based basis. See, if I'm doing budget for this, what is my budget date? In general, budget date will be fetched based on your invoice date or your accounting date. Accounting date is recommended, right? So we keep it in accounting date. What is the default option is to come all the offers in invoice, it will be available here. Then allow final matching, right? What means allow final matching means a manual. See, whenever I created filled this header manually, right? So this invoice identifying PO is went off, so I cannot able to select. So if it doesn't enable this option while creating manual invoice, I cannot match with PO. If I enable that option, initially while creating invoice, you saw, right? I can able to select my PO. Then allow matching distribution override. What does mean by distribution override? When I'm matching from PO to AP invoice, this distribution account will automatically get default from the PO. So this option says, if I disable this option, this will be grayed off. I cannot able to edit my distribution combination. If I enable this, I can able to edit my distribution combination. Then transfer BO distribution additional information. What is mean by additional information is the descriptive flexibility, I told, right? We can create a field and we can capture information whatever we want. That will, if you are putting any DFF in PO, it should get transferred to your invoice or not. That is this option. If we enable this, it will get transferred. If it doesn't enable, it will not get transferred. Okay. Then what is about this quantity tolerance, amount tolerance? Tolerance, you remember, right? In cash management model, we have seen tolerance. Okay. Let's take an example. This is my purchase order. This is my invoice. In purchase order, I have said, send me this item 5 quantity for me, and cost of the 5 quantity is 500. Okay. In invoice, obviously, whenever I received a 5 quantity, I have to make a payment to 5 quantity and the same 500, right? This is a general scenario. Tolerance, percentage of quantity tolerance based and amount tolerance based. This one we will create in another setup and we will attach it. Okay. What does it mean? Like you remember in cash management, we'll create a tolerance in one screen and we'll attach it to our bank account, right? Like that, we should attach it to here. Okay. What does this mean? For example, I've kept a tolerance as 20%. This is quantity based tolerance. Okay. 20% tolerance is accepted, I'm saying. So can I invoice for 300? No. Why? Because the difference is 40%. Okay, let me put this as 10 so it is easy to identify. Okay. Can I invoice this? No. Why? Because see that there is a 30% difference between your ordered quantity and your billing quantity. It is not allowed. But you attach a 20% tolerance. Okay. So what will be allowed? 8 quantity can be billed. Okay. So if you are setting 20% tolerance here, 20% quantity less your billing, so the tolerance is accepted. If you're not setting a tolerance, this will not work. You have the invoice will go into hold. It will not allow you to pay your invoice. It will not allow you to upload your invoice to general ledger. Okay. Then yeah, I'm saying 10% amount tolerance is accepted. So I'm paying my 10 quantity itself, but I'm paying 850, only 850. This is accepted? Not. You have to pay at least 900. So in general, most tolerance will not be accepted. Why? Because whatever you receive from supplier will not give you until you are paying to them. Then discount. This discount, if you enable this checkbox option, let me take an example. 100 is your invoice number. You have 10% of GST. Invoice amount. Okay, let me put it as invoice amount. Discount. You receive 10% discount. Okay, sorry. Let me put it as tax. Sorry. The 10% is tax. So 10 rupees is your this is your invoice total amount. 110. Okay. So now what supplier told you is, I'm giving you 5% of discount in June. So this option, what it says is discount calculation don't include your tax in the calculation. Don't include your freight in the calculation. What does it means? When you are calculating your discount, don't calculate from this amount, calculate from this amount. Tax, so from doing 5% from this means there will be 5.5 discount, right? So it is not actual discount amount. You cannot discount anything from your tax amount. So you have to discount from your only invoice amount. In general, every time this option will be enabled. Okay. Then always take discount means what it means for all the invoice take discount. It is not recommended. Right? So no all the suppliers will not agree take a discount. It's a concept. And this one, all invoice line, tax line, single distribution. As I told, when you create an invoice, there will be 3 different lines, right? What it is saying, 5% from 230, that 375 from 230, 375 5%, 345 5%. Calculate and put 3 different rows as discount and make me a calculation. No, if you keep this option, so for all the invoice line, it will put your calculation 5% against all invoice line. This one, tax line and single distribution. We will not keep this because your tax is not discounted. Single distribution, what does it mean? System will automatically calculate 5% for this subtotal. It means 950, and it will put a single line called discount. This is my discount minus this amount. That's it. If you want 3 different lines or single distribution. Single distribution is always recommended. Keep the single distribution. Then, okay, we are seeing this option for all this option for standard invoice. Now we are seeing this option for prepayment. Whenever I'm creating a prepayment, what should be my default payment term? This payment term is for your other invoices. This payment term is for prepayment invoices. Okay. I'm keeping this option for prepayment invoice immediate. Then settlement days. Whenever you are keeping your creating your prepayment, let's take an example. I'm prepaying to one of my supplier for 30 days. What does it mean? After 30 days, I have to use this amount, or you have to settle back with this amount. So for all the prepayment, my settlement days is 30. Only 30 days I can keep my prepayment. I can set it up here. In general, it is not condition is not like that. You'll make a prepayment, and whenever you want, you can purchase the goods from them. It's not required. Use distribution from your purchase order. Whenever you're matching your purchase order to your prepayment, use the distribution from your purchase order to your prepayment. Okay. Then use show available prepayment during invoice entry. What does it mean? Show available prepayment during invoice entry. I'm creating an invoice here, right? If I have any prepayment already, I have prepaid and some amount is pending there means while I'm creating this invoice, system will put a bill icon here near your supplier saying you have some prepaid amount to your supplier already. Don't pay this invoice. Just apply your prepayment to this invoice. Don't pay this invoice. It will provide your information here. So always it is recommended to enable this option. This option is just a prevention option. Like you have already paid this amount. You are having this amount. Don't pay this invoice. Just apply this invoice to you whatever you have already paid. Okay, that's the message it will give. So that is recommended. And then recording approval, enable your approval. Can I enable allow force approval? And when my approval should go? My approval should go before my validation or not. Require validation before approval. If you enable this option, you should validate your invoice. Validate invoices means your invoice looks good or not. Like any of the mistake you have in invoice, like unmatched false. Okay. Validation is recurrent 100%. If you enable approval, I will recommend it to enable this option. Why? Because you cannot send the improper invoice for your approval to your manager or whoever is in a higher level hierarchy, right? So you have to send your proper invoice. So you enable this option. Then accounting preference. Okay. Account regardless of approval status. Okay. What does mean by account? Account is mean nothing but right. We are creating our invoice and if your account means you are transferring your journal entry to your general ledger, correct? So this option is account regardless of income. This option, what it will do, if you account or not, you are transferred or not, whatever it is, you are able to account your invoice if it is approved or not. If it's not approved, or not approved, you can account. In general, it is not recommended. Why? Because transferring to general ledger is very key thing. You cannot do it as it is. So once the invoice is approved from your supervisor, only we can account it, right? You select this option. What is this option mean? Require accounting before approval. This option, if your approval status is approved or not, just account. This option, accounting is mandatory before you send into approval. This is not be used. Why? Because the accounting is the key. Require approval before accounting. If you keep this option, once your invoice is approved only, you can be able to use this option and account post to ledger. Okay. Then this is about approval. I'll disable the approval. Next, create interest invoice. What in general, what is meant by interest invoice? Okay. Let's take an example. Your invoice amount is 1,000. Your supplier told you have to pay it in 10 days. How you are capturing your 10 days means your payment term. Okay, 10 days I have to pay. Then your due date will be 10, from your 28th May will be your due date. But you have missed your payment and you are paying on 30th May. 2 days you have made a late payment. The supplier is telling you have made 2 days late payment. You have to pay me the interest for this invoice. So per day, the interest for this invoice is 1%. What you have to do? Equal to into 1 divided by 100 divided by 3, right? So per day, this is a calculation. So for this, this is a small example. Let me put it in big value. So 27, you said interest for single day. You are made an interest invoice. In this case, you will create one more invoice for this interest invoice, and you have to pay it to your supplier, right? So basically, this business unit is allowed to create interest invoice or not. Yes, I have allowed to create interest invoice. Minimum interest invoice amount is 1. Then if I create interest invoice, what is my expense account? You have to provide the expense account. Interest allocation method. Same you are seeing here. Do for all the invoice lines or a single distribution. Always keep a single distribution. This is about your interest invoice. Then payment.
I'm a bit confused on this interest.
Yes, Ajay.
So when we receive goods bit late, then we charge this amount to supplier, or we'll pay automatically if we'll delay the payment?
No, in this one, when we delay the payment, we have to pay to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it is about purely the payment. Okay. Next, payment request. What is payment request? This payment request will be covered in. Okay, we'll cover in AP itself, no problem. So payment request will come from your accounts. It may come from your account receivable model. How from account receivable model? Let's take an example. In accounts receivable model, customer will come into show, right? We have sold something to a customer, 1,000 rupees. Invoice amount is this, and in AP, supplier will be a role, and we will create invoice. Against the invoice, we will make a payment. This is the general term. Here in AR, we will create invoice. Against the invoice, we will receive the payment. It is called as receipt. Okay, so this is a key difference. In this, receipt I have received 1,000. Something happened. Your customer, something happened. Your customer told, "I'm just returning this product. All the product are damaged." In this, what you have to do? You have to repay them, right? From accounts receivable, only you can receive the money. You cannot pay the money. So in receipt screen, like the screen, don't worry, we'll take that. Like this screen, in receipt screen also will be there. In there will be an option called refund. Refund to my customer. In this case, we will initiate refund from that setup and all required there. We'll explain you that setup. I'm refunding 1,000. What it will happen, system, what it will do, automatically create a payment request type. Payment, there are types of payment. In that, one of the type is payment request. Okay. System automatically will create one payment request in the accounts payable. This is complete automatic. When you do a click on refund and do, it will get automatic payment request in AP module, and your customer will created as a party in the AP module, and you can make a payment to them. So you are recording in the system that some refund it has came from a accounts receivable module as a payment request, and I'm paying to them. This is a general concept of payment request. We'll deeply explain how to do this in system, but this is a general concept. Remember the concept. So when I'm getting any payment request, what should be my payment term? What should be my payment group? What is my payment priority? Defaulting option. That's it. Again, when it comes to self-service invoice, like I told, right, self-service invoice is supplier can work with the portal and do. Limit to invoice to a single purchase order, allow invoice backdating, unit price change from quantity base. Limit means a purchase order can be applied to only one invoice. Allow them to enter the backdate invoice also. All these options. Attachment is mandatory or not. They can change their unit price or not. All these options we can select over. Okay. This is about invoice option screen. Any doubts here? Okay, no problem. Okay, guys. Just my recommendation. See, these three setups are key setup. Those all understand all small setup. This three setups is key setup in your accounts payable modules. Basically, try this screen more and try to understand what all those things. And common option is done, invoice option is done. Then I'm finally moving to payment option. So we have seen in invoice what all we can do, what all option I can give, what all things I can do, right? So this is about your invoice screen. Okay, let me go to payment screen now.
Jagdish,
Yes, please.
I was just noting down on the first setup screen, you were discussing about accrual on different places.
This setup, common option for payables and payment.
Accrual, yeah.
Okay, accrual at receipt and accrual at a period end. That option, right?
Yeah, first time. First option, what you were, yeah, common.
Okay, this one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In R12, as a standard accounting entry for expense items,
Sales item.
at the time of a receipt, inventory recurring account, receiving account debit and accrual account credit. Correct? So now, as I understand you're saying,
No, come. Tell me again.
as a standard in R12, as a process, when we do the receipt.
Receipt, GRM.
So that time inventory receiving account debit and accrual account credit.
Correct.
And again, when we match the invoice with PO in payable, accrual account debit.
Debit and liability
credit.
Correct.
Now, this is the standard what we know.
Correct.
The R12. Now, my question is, over here, we have option to change that place to get the accrual hit?
Yes, absolutely. The option is there. what I'm trying to say is, we cannot change the place of accrual hitting. We can tell the system when that accrual accounting entry should happen. That's the difference. There will be no difference in the accounting, as same in the receipt, inventory receipt will be debited and your accrual will be credited. Okay, same. But when the accrual entry should happen at your receipt or at the period end. For example, the same accounting entry will generate for the receipt. It should create at the receipt creation level and the accounting itself, or only when I'm closing the period it should happen. This is the concept. Got it? Unless and yeah, until your at your period end, you cannot account your receipt. That is the simple thing.
Normally, maybe I'm not clear on the concept, maybe asking a bit silly question. Normally it happened when we do click on create accounting and transfer to GL, all the accounting entry go in GL after the create accounting process take place.
Process. When you run a program, you will run a program, create accounting with a module called receipt accounting, right? Whenever you are running a program, see for let's say example, today is 18. You have kept this accrual expense item at the period end. You are running a program. It will account my receipt or not? It won't account. If you kept the expense, because when you are enabling this option at your purchase order level itself, what it will happen? Accrual option that it will set to do at the period end. When the period end date comes only, you will be able to make your accrual happens. This means at the receipt level itself, let the accrual happens. It doesn't mean you are create accounting in a different place. No, you're not accounting in a receipt, you're accounting in a different place. It means when you are accounting, while the receipt creation, say for example, today you have created a receipt and today you are running the create accounting program. Your accrual expense item is at receipt. Absolutely, the account will get generated. If your accrual expense item is at expense, you are running for today, absolutely it won't get generated. Why? Because your system, you are saying at the period end. System knows when is your current period and what is the end date of the current period. So at the end date, if you select your accounting date as a end date and run, it will happen. Basically, this idea is to accrue at every time or at the period end to avoid some see, like for take example, your what is receipt? The receipt is your received quantity. You are entering this much. I have received the quantity, right? So what if you are refunded? You are returned to your supplier. RTB will take place. Okay. So when it is generally checking, like if you keep a period in, all those accrual and expense items will get knocked off and create accrual entries at the end, period end, or you can do it. You can account at receipt once you received, and once you return also, you will create a receipt with a negative sign. You can do at that time also. It's a general option, like account now or account later. That is the concept.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, let's move to payment options. This is about your payment scheme. Let's start from your payment option. Allow payment date before the system date. What does it mean? See, let's take an example. Invoice date is 16. Today system date is 8. Payment date, I want to make it system date is 8. If I doesn't enable this option, I cannot create my payment date. If I select it to this 16, what system will throw me error? You are not allowed to make payment before your system date. If I enable this option, it will allow you to make a payment. That's it, simple concept. So in general, it should be allowed, right? Why? Because you may make a you have to make a payment in real time 60 minutes. Your account is recording in 18 only. Maybe there may be some delay. So in this case, we have to allow them. Allow override of supply side bank account. While creating our supplier, there is an option called create bank accounts. In that, whenever we are making a payment, what is maybe supplier bank account? What is disbursement bank account? It's simple. Disbursement bank account is our bank account where we are going to pay your money, disburse your money. Supplier bank account is the supplier bank account where he is going to receive his money. Okay, you will record this one. See, disbursement bank account is our account. Remitted bank account is this account, like which we are going to remit, where the money is going to be received, where the money is going to be disbursed. Okay, so whenever you are selecting a supplier, this will get defaulted if you attach a bank account to this. Shall I allow you to change the bank account or not? This option. To enable this option, whenever you select your supplier, you can this field will be allowed to change, otherwise it will be in a grade of only. Then allow document category override as same you are seeing in your invoice. Here also for payment also document category will come here. Allow override or not. Allow payee override for third party. Same in invoice what we are seeing. The payee override is allowed. That there is a remit to address. Here it is a payee override or not. Then here this is one key important option. I will tell you. So basically understand this is an invoice. What will be your debit and credit? This is debit. This is credit. What will be a debit? What will be, sorry? What will be a credit? While making payment, what will be your debit? What will be your credit? You will debit your liability. You will credit your cash, right? So this is a general account. If I keep this option, okay, what it's saying, you cannot change this option because many payments has been recorded with this fix. Okay. If you keep this option, what does it mean? If you keep this option, what does it mean? See, there is a payment status. Two different payment status. One is another one is what is meant by negotiable and what is clear. Negotiable is unreconciled. This is reconciled. Negotiable status means it is not reconciled with your bank statement line. Once the manual reconciliation, once you reconcile your payment, it will change automatically to cleared status. Okay. So what system asking is issue means negotiable, clear means clearing. If I keep issue means when I create a payment and it is a negotiable status itself, it will account this entry. Your liability will be debited and your cash will be credited. If you keep a reconciliation means at negotiable time, there will be, if I keep this option, my account only should be done at clear after cleared. Once my payment status is clear, then only it will hit this account. At this level, there will be no accounting entries. Third option, at the payment issue and clearing. What I'm saying, account for me at the payment issue also and after cleared also. Then how the accounting entry will behave is for negotiable, same debit will be goes to liability, but credit goes to cash clearing. It will hit a dummy account called cash clearing. Okay. Then once you reconcile and your status is cleared, then your account, you have already reduced your liability, so liability will not come in the scenario. What it will happen? It will credit your cash clearing, sorry, debit your cash clearing and credit your cash. So instead of directly hitting your cash, what you're doing, you're including your clearing account inside. See, here what happened? Credit and debit. What will happen after this final? This will get knocked off. Only these two remains actually, correct? After they clear. But you want to record a two purpose means just create one clearing account and put it at credit level. Here create a clearing account, put it at credit level. When these are the options, you can switch over. In general, 99.9% which I have seen, they will use at the payment issue and clear. Okay. Any doubts on this, guys? Because it's a key important thing. Ajit and Nidish.
Yeah, okay.
Fine, right? This one. Okay. So, Nitish, okay. So this is about this option. Then currency conversion, required or not, enable this and default this. And then bank charges. Bank charges detection type.
Jagdish,
Yes.
sorry, but actually, whatever you're explaining now, these especially the entries and all, when you remove, delete, maybe it will not practice and not keep revising. We may forget after couple of sessions or maybe after some time.
Okay.
Now a request that if you write it down somewhere while doing it only the way in notepad or something, so and that file also if you put it in PPT or shared drive, so we are able to
No,
refer it whenever needed.
no, I understood. But accounting entries in general, usually will not give any document on it, right? See,
No, I'm
accounting
not
entry,
saying any account. I'm just giving a reference. Anything you are writing now,
writing,
if
okay.
you will give it in a notepad somewhere. In earlier session, Prasad was doing. If you want, I'll discuss with Prasad.
No problem.
And he was just putting all these things in a notepad. So whenever we are going through the video, again revising the topic, we were opening those notepad file or Excel file and referring what was the context and how Jagdish explained.
No,
It's just
you.
a suggestion. I don't know if possible, not possible.
I
So if you
understood.
do so, we'll refer those entries or those contexts to what you are writing, and it will help us to remember things easily.
Okay, I understood. So what you're expecting is like the example which each time when I'm giving, put it in a notepad and save that file, right?
Yeah, whatever you are comfortable, put it in some sort of document
No,
and
that is
mark
okay,
it
man.
with that
Doc,
number of
no,
session.
no,
Because
document is
generally,
absolutely okay. I find with that. What I'm checking with you, which all it is required. All my workings and I'm showing is I have to put in notepad or example accounting and everything you're expecting, right? Just to
we
understand.
are a student. We don't know what is important. What you when you are
No, no,
teaching,
no.
you feel that something is important that you should refer. You keep only those things. But
Okay, got it, got
normally
it.
with Prasad, what is happening? He usually open the notepad and he write it down whatever he feel that he's explaining like a blackboard or something, and he write it down on same file he was putting in shared drive. So
Okay,
when we are going through the videos and whatever notepad was there, so we are able to refer it, and if some file or some information needed, I'm
got it,
able
got
to
it.
take it from that file also.
Got it, got it. Okay, so okay, I will check with Prasad also which practice he's following, so I can follow that same also. No problem.
Yeah, just for reference. I'm not saying anything. It's
No,
just
no,
a
no,
request.
no,
If
Ajit,
possible, then and only then.
I totally understood your request. I'm just trying to understand which way it will be better or which way the Prasad is following.
Yeah,
It will
yeah.
be helpful. I'm just trying to understand that one. No problem.
Thank you.
I will check with Prasad and we'll discuss on this. From tomorrow's session, we'll put in a notepad and I'll upload with the date or numbering. We'll put some numbering and we'll upload.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much, Ananda.
No problem. Thank you for reminding me. This may be helpful approach also. Thank you for that. Okay. So what are the this one lot bank charges type. How the bank charges should get detected like standard or negotiated. In general, bank charges we will not use it in our AP. It will, as I said, right, like create transaction, you can go ahead with this instead of coming to AP and doing your bank charges, recording your bank charges as an invoice and making a payment. It's very uh, big process and it is not recommendable also. In general, if you want to do it, keep a standard or keep a negotiation at which level you can generate your bank charges. You can. This is about your payment accounting and override options. Sorry, payment options. Okay. So basically, what we are seeing today is only five setups, and these are the key setups in your AP accounts payable module. So first, what we are seeing, we have created ourselves as a user. This will be taken care of the HCM. Procurement agent or setup, we have to define ourselves as a procurement agent. What will happen if we not design ourselves as a procurement agent means we cannot create a supply site. While creating supply site, there will be every place we are option called create right plus button that will not be available while creating a supply site. Just remember this. Whenever you are doing in a real time, your user doesn't have access to create your supply site. It clearly means your procurement agent setup is missing. Okay. Then common option for payables, so procurement, invoice options, and payment options. General using, you can revise them. Tomorrow we can go ahead with the other setups. Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay. Thank you, Nitish. We'll call off the session today. You can join today.
Jagdish, just one thing.
Yeah, Nitish.
Yep. So actually, when we were doing the when we were doing the cash management session, I asked you one question regarding the job set. I forgot to, remind you on Monday. I just wanted to have a look that how we create a job set because I want.
Understood.
Okay.
I remember.
If not today, if possible tomorrow, if you can show me that how to do.
Okay, let me note down here itself. Create job set, and I will show you one more option also. Schedule a job. These two I will cover tomorrow at the end of the session. Okay, just remember me today. I will do this tomorrow.
Sure. Fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Nitish. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.